This is NEWSPLUS on Viewer Television. My name is Charles Doke. President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria is ready to host the Secretariat of the Sahel Climate Fund, including equipping and provision of accommodation to the top management staff of the fund. The president stated this while speaking at the second Heads of State and Government of the Sahel Region Climate Commission during the 36th AU Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The Sahel Climate Fund is the financial body of the Sahel Region Climate Commission (SRCC). The body is one of the three climate commissions for Africa created in Marrakesh, Morocco in 2016 at the Summit of African Heads of States and Government, organized at the initiative of the King of Morocco on the sidelines of the 22nd Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. According to a statement issued by his Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, the president said as an active member of the commission, Nigeria would support the operationalization of the Secretariat toward effective implementation of climate change activities in the region. The House of Representatives ad hoc committee on Naira redesign has warned that the ripple effects of the policy could jeopardize the 2023 general election. In a statement in Abuja, Adu Dogwa, the committee chairman, called for an intervention to mitigate the hardship Nigerians face due to the policy. Dogwa said President Muhammadu Buhari had good intentions in wanting to use the policy to tackle insecurity, reduce corruption, and engender the global best practice in fiscal policy management. He, however, said Nigerians were subjected to unwarranted and avoidable hardship due to wrong timing of the implementation coupled with the actions of suspected criminal elements in the banking sector. The federal government is preparing the country's business environment for greater prosperity and wealth circulation as plans are underway to begin the listing of free trade zones and zones enterprises on the Nigerian capital market. The Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, NEPZA, Nigeria Economic Zones Association, NEZA, and the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, as well as the Lagos Free Zone, LFZ, are the key establishments involved in this innovation. Professor Adesoji Adesuba, Managing Director, CEO, NEPZA, while speaking during a business interface meeting with the Director General of SEC, Lamido Yuguda, at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja, said the prosperity and wealth of the free trade zone would be effectively extended to invest in public through the stock market. Adesuba explained that the law establishing NEPZA gave it substantial latitude to effect changes that ensure dimensional linkages between the free zone and the Nigerian public for mutual benefits. Governor Babajide SANWO-OLU has urged Lagosians to remain calm despite the difficulties and frustrations being faced by all. He pleaded that violence and destruction should not and will never be the answer. SANWO-OLU, who addressed reporters at the State House in Marina, admonished the people to be their brother's keepers and do everything they can to contribute to lessening the hardship faced by fellow Lagosians. He also warned against attacks on properties, whether public or private, saying law enforcement agents have received clear instructions to take full control and to ensure zero tolerance for any and all acts of arson, violence, and destruction. Meanwhile, the Federal Road Safety Corps says it will deploy 25,783 officers to monitor the 2023 elections in different states across the country. The Commission said this is to curb electoral violence and ensure that the presidential poll is conducted safely. In a statement issued on Friday, the Commission noted that it would also deploy 769 patrol vehicles, 139 ambulances, and 33 light, medium, and heavy tow trucks. FRSC said it intends to collaborate with security agencies to ensure orderliness and timeliness in delivery of election materials. It added that the personnel deployed to work round the clock to monitor unfolding events at different polling units. Now, to matters of security, the police in Anambra have confirmed that some members of the unknown gunmen criminal group attacked the state police command in Ogidi Idemili North local government area and killed 3 of its personnel. The latest attack occurred just 1 day after the assailants attacked a training program for ad hoc staff for the Independent National Electoral Commission in respect of the forthcoming 2023 general elections at Ukpo High School, Navy South local government area. According to the state police spokesman Tochukwu Ikenga, the situation in Ogidi followed the early morning attack on Saturday has been brought under control. Ikenga said the Anambra State Police Command has reinforced security in the Idemili North area of the state following the attack. He added also that 3 policemen paid the supreme price. We now go on a short break. When we return, there'll be more news.
Before you came round, my heart would never beat like
The story of a charmer and his crush.
Before you came round, I was ready to slow down. Before you came round, I was heading for a small disaster. Before you came round, I was ready to blow me down.
Tat Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
Welcome back to the news, and if you're just joining us, this is NEWSPLUS on Viewer Television. Moving on, the All Progressives Congress has pegged the sale of expression of interest and nomination forms for Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states at 50 million naira. The ruling party made this known in the schedule of activities and timetable for the governorship primaries released by the National Organizing Secretary Suleiman Argungu. The ruling party said that the nomination form goes for 40 million naira, while the expression of interest is pegged at 10 million naira. However, the ruling party approved that nomination forms for all female gubernatorial aspirants and persons living with disabilities would be given free. They would, however, pay for the expression of interest form. The party said youth from the age of 25 to 40 years would enjoy a 50% discount from nomination forms, while full payment would be made for the expression of interest forms. Our non-governmental organization in Jos, Our Youth Initiative Against Violence and Human Rights Abuse, has constituted a 7-man peace and mediation committee to prevent electoral violence and ensure peaceful and credible polls in the general elections in Plateau and Nigeria as a whole. Inaugurating the committee in Jos, Jacob Poakim, the executive director of the organization, says the event is part of its project tagged Election Violence Monitoring and Mitigation, aimed at ensuring peaceful elections in the country. Nasiru Saidu tells us more.
Elections are a few days ahead, and to ensure free, fair and peaceful election. Youth Initiative Against Violence and Human Rights Abuse constitute a 7-man peace and mediation committee in Jos to prevent election violence ahead of the 2023 general elections.
Yaba and his partners must mention that this committee is not in contention with any structure in the state, but set up to complement the role of other structures, as there is no positive action that would be more than enough.
Stakeholders use the medium to call on Nigerians to come out and vote their leaders without fear or intimidation.
There should be life after election. So do not allow yourself to be used for any violence. You should go there, cast your vote, never allow yourself to be disenfranchised, never allow yourself to be intimidated. But please, let's have a very sound, free, fair and credible election.
This is a very, very critical and important election towards building our nation. And so I call on all the citizens to ensure that they participate, because this is something that has to do with the progress of Nigeria and the future of our children. So we need to encourage everybody to come out and vote and select the candidates of their choice.
So the need, therefore, for the election to be peaceful, to be violent-free, is so that we'll have credible leaders.
The 7-man peace committee cut across civil organizations, traditional institutions, security agencies, government and media, and academy. Nasru Saidu, Viewer TV News, Jos.
And from Plateau State, we move to Taraba, where the state government has distanced itself from the allegations of meddling in the affairs of the All Progressives Congress in the state. Commissioner of Information and Reorientation, Lois Emmanuel, said this in a press briefing to newsmen in Jalingo.
Commissioner of Information Lois Emmanuel, while briefing newsmen, said Senator Emmanuel Bacha's utterances during his interview on national television mirrored his frustrations over his failing gubernatorial ambition. Lois said Emmanuel Bacha barely had anything reasonable to say apart from throwing big bats at the office and person of Governor Darius Ishaku.
He claimed that no development has been taking place in Taraba State under the administration of Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku. It is the immediate proof of Bacha's infertile memory. He fell to and from airport every week since the coming of Ishaku, yet he does not know who completed the airport project and introduced daily flights into the airport from Abuja.
The commissioner said he only made caricatures of himself as he was taciturn, confused, and unable to make sense of whatever he planned to say on the television. She wondered how can Senator Emmanuel Bacha, who spent 8 years in the House of Representatives and another 8 years in the Senate, could exhibit so much barrenness in knowledge and familiarity with the issues regarding his state of origin.
He was obviously taciturn, confused, and unable to make sense of whatever he plans to come and say on television. Otherwise, how will a person who spent 8 years in House of Representatives, 12 years in the Senate, exhibit so much barrenness in knowledge and familiarity with issues regarding his state of origin?
She says the PDP has been in power in the state since 1999 and remained the leading party till date, lamenting that it is the APC's desperate leaders that are acquiring weapons to cause confusion and commotion during the elections. Lois advises Senator Emmanuel Bacha to stop looking for scapegoats for his declining political fortunes in the PDP, saying he should rather look inwards. Linda Ghana, Viewer TV News, Jalingo.
The consortium Basic Rights Watch has called on the government to create a transitional justice ministry to support victims of insurgency and reconciliation process in the northeast affected during the era of insurgency. The group at the press briefing also called on the government to adopt a transitional justice mechanism which will protect members of the conflict and reveal patterns of gender abuse, communal healing, and compensating victims and investigate human rights violations, torture, harassment and brutality in the region. The spokesman of the consortium Basic Rights Watch, Austin Ekwujuru, said the transitional justice system would promote gender justice and create space for women participation in sustainable peace building and ensure social reintegration.
Without substantive inclusion of IDPs, transitional process face the risk of failure. The divisions that conflict caused cannot be fully mended, and reconciliation and healing will only be partial without addressing the issues affecting IDPs in conflict and post-conflict situations. Memorialization is important for truth and reconciliation, and this could include commemorative activities, erection of monuments and symbols, renaming of public spaces or building, review of artistic or cultural expressions, as well as national symbols and holidays, and or revision of history.
Governor Darius Ishaku of Taraba State has shown dismay over the alleged replacement of genuine rescue teachers for employment with preferential candidates. The governor stated this in his speech during the presentation of appointment letters to over 1,000 successful applicants at the Gymnastics Hall of Joli Nyame Stadium in Jalingo. The report.
Governor Ishaku during the event directed the head of state civil service to investigate the matter with a view to addressing the anomalies. The governor urges newly recruited civil servants to contribute positively towards the growth of the state, adding that it is part of his administration's determination to boost human development in the state. He encourages the successful applicants to make future plans for the betterment of their lives.
I'm advising you, young ones, you may not get this advice easily. You are starting today, start to plan. You go to DDI garden, you start to deposit. Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, you have paid off.
On his part, the Secretary to the State Government, SSG, Anthony Jellison, said the interest of all the senatorial zones of the state was represented. The SSG added that the selection was based on merit and transparency.
You have left an indelible mark in the history of Taraba State in employment and other developmental projects executed in the state, which will be remembered for a very, very, very long time to go. I wish to congratulate the successful candidates that have come and gathered here. You should also note that there are other qualified candidates that should have been opportune to be employed, but God made it possible for you to have been selected.
Earlier, Taraba State Chairman Civil Service Commission John Mamman lauds Governor Darius Ishaku for prioritizing human development in the state. John revealed that Governor Ishaku has been the only governor who lifted an embargo on employment in the state since 1999. He urges the successful applicants to justify the gesture of the governor by contributing positively to the progress of the state.
I wish to state that the Commission will continue to guide the civil servants in line with its mandate of ensuring a virile and responsible civil service, which is the engine room for the implementation of government policies and programs.
At the event, there was a symbolic presentation of appointment letters to the successful applicants. About 1,545 successful applicants benefited from the gesture. Linda Guana, VOA TV News, Jalingo.
Still in Taraba State, the Ministry of Health says they have recorded 166 suspected cases with 17 dead from the new outbreak of Lassa fever in the state. The Commissioner for Agric, Innocent Vakai, made the statement during a press conference in Jalingo, the state capital. Again, Linda Guana reports.
While addressing the pressmen, the commissioner states that out of the 166 suspected cases, 60 turned out positive, with 17 people dead, including a Chinese national. Vakai says the statistics, which were obtained from the National Center for Disease Control, was worrisome, which necessitated the press briefing to inform the public about the outbreak of the dangerous disease. He explained that Lassa fever virus is contagious in nature and can be transmitted within a short period of time if contracted. He wants people to stay away from bush rats and other things that are capable of exposing them to the virus.
Based on the statistics that we are having, of the total number of 166 suspected cases and 60 that are confirmed, 17 people have died, which gave us a case fatality rate of almost 25%. So it's way above the normal non-case fatality rate in literature, which is usually within 15 to 17%. And because of the contagious nature of the Lassa fever virus, it has become imperative for me to make this press briefing for the people of Taraba State to be cautious, because the fatality of this disease is very high. So far, we have lost about 17 people since the onset of the outbreak, which include a Chinese national that passed on yesterday. Therefore, it is necessary for us to prevent our people from getting infected with the Lassa fever virus.
The commissioner calls on the public to find precautionary measures through protecting themselves and to stay away from anything that can cause the disease. He advocates that anyone who comes in contact with someone that is diagnosed with the disease should try and go for testing, because Lassa fever, when detected early, could save the life of the person.
We will try our best to ensure that the case fatality is reduced to the barest minimum, and that can only be done by when you see people, be your neighbor or friend, that have symptoms suggestive of Lassa fever. There are other diseases that mimic Lassa fever. Malaria mimic Lassa fever. Typhoid mimic Lassa fever. So the only way you can confirm that it's Lassa fever is when you are tested. Okay, and the earlier you are tested, if you show symptoms, the better.
Vakai further warns medical personnel attending to persons suspected with Lassa fever to protect themselves against the virus, stating that medical personnel have lost their lives while protecting others, which ought not to be so. He calls on the people of the state to remain calm as the government is doing its best to bring down the disease to a barest minimum. Linda Guana, VOA TV News, Jalingo.
As the 2023 general elections approaches, the Nigerian Army, in collaboration with other sister security agencies, have commenced a 3-division operations planning cadre in Bauchi aimed at addressing security challenges in some parts of the country. In his welcome address, General Officer Commanding 3 Division, Nigerian Army Major General A.B. Ibrahim says the aim of the seminar is to make sure that junior and middle-level cadres are up to date with contemporary security issues and how to respond to some challenges. Our Bauchi State correspondent Awal Hassan completes this story.
Addressing Nigeria's security challenges requires a multi-sectoral approach, especially now that many dimensions of insecurity have continued to emerge.
Militancy in the south, insurgency in the northeast, banditry and terrorism in the northwest. Each form of insecurity has its own peculiar set of challenges requiring individualized training for security personnel operating in various zones.
In a quest to address some of the security challenges in the country, there is the need for proper planning, part of which is equipping the security personnel with the knowledge of contemporary security issues.
So this is to make sure that junior and middle level commanders are up to par with contemporary issues and how to respond to all these challenges. Additionally, in let's say next week Saturday, the general elections begin. How do they react? How do we ensure that we have free, fair and credible elections? So all these things are the objectives we're going to carry out.
Hence, the lectures in this cadre are particularly crafted to provide security personnel operating in the North Central and Northeast regions for cooperation with the necessary tools for facing security challenges peculiar to these regions.
The General Officer Commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army, Major General A.B. Ibrahim, who was represented by Major General Eyitayo Oyinlola, however, charges the participants to make use of the presentation sessions and be interactive.
To all participants in general, I urge you to take keen interest in all the presentations during this cadre.
The lecture on junior leadership should be of particular interest to young officers who are deployed in various locations across the North Central and Northeast theaters of operations. I further urge you, all participants from diverse backgrounds, to be objective in your contributions during the interactive sessions.
Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
And on the international scene, Ghanaian footballer Christian Atsu has been found dead in southern Turkey under the rubble of the building he lived in after last week's massive earthquakes. His Turkish agent and club said the former Premier League player who joined Turkish club Hatayspor last year had been missing since the 6th of February earthquakes devastated southern Turkey and northwestern Syria. Search teams recovered Atsu's body in the ruins of Renaissance Residence, a luxury 12-story building where he had been living in the city of Antakya in Hatay province. The building's contractor was arrested at Istanbul airport last week while apparently trying to leave the country for Montenegro. Atsu had been scheduled to fly out of southern Turkey hours before the earthquakes, but Hatay sports manager said the Ghanaian opted to stay with the club after scoring the winning goal in a Super League match. The Ajman Transport Authority, in cooperation with the General Command of Ajman Police and the Emergency and Crisis Department in the Emirate, moved the residents of one of the towers of the Pure residential complex in the Rashidiyya 1 area in which the Friday fire broke out to a temporary residence. The Director General of the Transport Authority in Ajman, Omar Luta, said the authority harnessed its bus fleet to transport the 380 affected residents of the building, noting that all precautionary measures have been taken to ensure that the residents reach a temporary residence easily and safely. Luta appreciated the efforts of all the task teams in the Emirate of Ajman and their speed in handling the incident and handling the situation very professionally, which confirms their reach of the highest levels of readiness in crisis management. The fires had broken on the outside of the tower and reached a number of residential apartments, resulting in 9 choking cases treated at the scene by the National Ambulance, and 2 people with moderate injuries were transferred to Sheikh Khalifa Hospital for treatment. A gunman went on rampage in a small Mississippi town, killing his former wife and 5 other people in 3 locations before he was arrested, the country sheriff and witnesses have said. The bloodshed occurred in Ark Tabula, a rural hamlet of fewer than 300 people in the Tate County in northern Mississippi, about 60 kilometers south of Memphis, Tennessee. The gunman, identified as Richard Dale Crum, was charged with first-degree murder. President Joe Biden condemned the shooting and urged Congress to enact gun control rules, including background checks, an assault weapon ban, and requiring the safe storage of guns. Investigators had yet to ascertain a motive, but Lance said they would start by examining the suspect's relationship with his former wife. And that's all on News Plus. Many thanks for watching. I am Charles Doki. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.